and welcome. I'm Ijoma Onyato. Tonight, Vice President Oshibajo says corruption in public finance space is Nigeria's biggest economic challenge, says issue remains daunting despite efforts to tame it. Inspector General of Police to direct withdrawal of personnel assigned for VIP protection, says template for deployment of officers to be worked out. Police arrest suspected political thugs who claim to have been armed by Senator Dino Melaye to cause mayhem in Kogi State. Senator says it's an attempt to silence him. And President Putin promises to cut defense spending and dialogue with other countries as he begins new term as Russia's leader.
On business news, almost $500 million incoming to improve electricity distribution in Nigeria.
And sports news, Serena Williams to meet BNP Paribas Open champion Naomi Osaka in a blockbuster first-round match at the Miami Open, which serves off tomorrow.
And from Abuja, Senate committee begins confirmation process of President Buhari's nominees for deputy governors and members of the Monetary Policy Committee of the CBN.
Tonight from the nation's capital, Abuja, where the Vice President today admitted that grand corruption in public finance space remains Nigeria's biggest economic challenge. Professor Oshibajo made the observation while speaking on issues of corruption and past failures of governments at the 7th Presidential Quarterly Business Forum in Abuja. The Vice President, who admitted that corruption under the present administration has not been completely dealt with, maintains that if the nation sticks to a policy of controlling corruption in public finance, then Nigeria will make the kind of progress it deserves to make. Our correspondent Gloria Umezuke reports.
This is the 7th in the series of Presidential Quarterly Business Forums at the State House. In an overview of the nation's progress in areas of economy, revenue generation and business, the Ministers of Budget and National Planning, Finance and Industry, Trade and Investment explained to the private sector here that Nigeria is making steady progress in spite of the rot accumulated in the past years.
Overall, non-oil GDP grew by 1.45%. So we're growing on all fronts. The growth is still small. A lot of work needs to be done to get that growth at the level that we want. And the good news is that inflation is also declining.
We now have a system whereby on a quarterly basis, every single accounting officer, PermSec, has to certify his or her payroll and say that these people still work for me. Those are innovations from this government. And on a monthly basis, we still find people that the accounting officer says, this person is not my staff. So we have really tightened up.
The Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, said that having a president who is not corrupt has solved 50% of Nigeria's problems. He disclosed that nearly $300 million and more was stolen before the 2015 elections.
Oil prices were an average of $110 a barrel, and only 99 billion naira was spent on power works and housing. Only 99 billion. And in one day, 100 billion naira was issued, and people essentially shared it. And 99 billion was spent on power works and housing. And when we talk about our economy, we talk about it as if this is the normal. It's not that's abnormal. I'm not saying that corruption under this administration has been completely dealt with. No, I mean, certainly not. Where corruption has become systematic, such as we have in our country today, you can't deal with it in one fell swoop. It's not possible.
In spite of these facts, the Vice President points at one solution.
If we stick to policy, especially on controlling excesses and corruption in public finance, this country will make the kind of progress that it deserves to make. with all of the resources at our disposal. If we stick to a policy of ensuring that, at least as far as public finance is concerned, there is no impunity and that we hold people to account, I'm absolutely confident that this country has everything that it takes to really make the kind of progress that we deserve to make as a nation.
The federal government now hopes that the private sector will take advantage of the wide range of issues dissected here to proffer possible solutions required to tackle challenges bedeviling the nation's development. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
To security matters now, the Inspector General of Police is planning to reorganize the Police Special Protection Unit, which is responsible for the deployment of officers to persons considered to be very important in the society. The IGP says a directive shall be done on the withdrawal of the officers attached to VIPs and a task force set up to follow up on its compliance. Mr. Idris is worried that the deployment of policemen for the protection of very important persons is depleting the strength of the force. He also frowned on the illegal use of sirens by unauthorized persons and warns commissioners of police to ensure that the abuse stops.
It has become expedient for the Nigerian Police Force to streamline the deployment of its personnel attached to political and public office holders aimed at enhancing effective policing of the country. To this effect, a memo will soon be forwarded to the Office of the Commander-in-Chief for approval, which will serve as a guideline or template for deployment of VIPs, political and public office holders in the country. Accordingly, a directive for the withdrawal of all police officers deployed to VIPs, political and public office holders, shall be done with immediate effect. These directives include business entrepreneurs, multinational companies, as well as corporate individuals. A task force has been constituted at the force headquarters under the command of Assistant Commissioner of Police, Mohammed Adamu Ankwara, to ensure compliance to this directive.
In the meantime, officers of the Federal Special Anti-Robbery Squad and the police in Kogi State have arraigned 2 suspects said to be on the police wanted list for various criminal activities in the state. The suspects, Kabiru Seidu and Nuhu Salisu, have confessed to committing various criminal activities, including kidnapping and armed robbery in the state. They also claim to be working as political thugs for the senator representing Kogi West, Dino Melaye, whom they claim ordered them to recruit and train other thugs to work for him ahead of the 2019 general elections. The Force Public Relations Officer, Jimo Moshood, says the police have written officially to the Senate President to release Senator Dino Melaye for questioning at the Force headquarters in Kogi State to defend allegations of conspiracy and unlawful possession of firearms against him. But he has refused to honor the invitation.
Kabiru Saidu is also known as alias Osama. He has been, according to him, he has been working with as a political thug to Senator Dino Melaye, and they met on Airport Road, Abuja, inside the Senator Dino Melaye's car on a date in the month of December 2017. The suspect further confessed that Senator Dino Melaye told him that they should start working for the senator as his political thug, and they should equally recruit and train more members to work for him in preparation toward the 2019 general election, to disrupt and ensure that the state is ungovernable, and equally there with his political opponent and disorganize Kogi State. The gang leader, Kabiru Shuaibu, aka Osama, further confessed to the police investigation team that Senator Dino Melaye, during that meeting, handed over a bag containing the following firearms, and I mentioned them. One AK-47 rifle, 2 pump-action guns, and the sum of 430,000 naira, which he instructed him to share with his boys.
Meanwhile, Senator Dino Melaye has been reacting to the arrests made by the police, linking him to the hiring of political thugs armed with weapons. The Kogi senator describes the arrest as a gang-up to silence him after he revealed that the Kogi state governor allegedly imported military uniforms and arms into the country. The senator says, quote, "If I did not use arms to become a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, why should I now? I took former governors Ibrahim and Wada to court, but I was still sleeping in my house in Lokoja and nobody stoned me. The whole thing is alien to the people of Kogi State," end of quote. The senator adds that the silence of the presidency on the matter is alarming and that he will not give up on the battle to liberate Kogi State and Nigeria. In other security matters, the Nigerian army says its troops have prevented a protest by youths in Goma local government area from degenerating into public disorder. According to a statement from the Director of Army Public Relations, Brigadier General Texas Chukwu, about 500 youths staged a protest demanding the release of 4 young men arrested for alleged cattle rustling. The suspects are said to be members of a syndicate that had rustled about 20 cattle in the area. Brigadier General Chukwu says it took the intervention of the troops to prevent the situation from spiraling out of control. The Army spokesman adds that the situation is being monitored closely by military patrols in the area. Let's take a look at some legal matters now. A Federal Capital Territory High Court today adjourned the trial of the woman who allegedly killed her husband, Mariam Sanda, to April the 19th to enable the prosecution call its first witness. Ms. Sanda's counsel, Mr. Joseph Daudu, had made an application for the charge against her to be dismissed on the grounds that it's incompetent, null and void. Mr. Daudu had argued that the charge, which was filed as an originating summons, ought to have been filed by the Attorney General of the Federation and not the police. He also argued that the police had failed to file the charges through first information, but the police prosecutor asked the court to reject the application because it's misconceived.
The charge has not been filed by the proper person. It should have been filed by the Attorney General. The police filed it. Secondly, it was filed by way of charge, not information. Information is different from the charge. And therefore, there are so many defects that makes it that there was no charge at all.
The defense, in their wisdom, felt, well, the charge before the court is defective. And we're saying, no, the charge before the court is proper and in conformity with the provisions of the law. And that is exactly our position. We have argued the matter, and it will appear that that is just it. Because the only procedural rule with regards to trial of criminal matters in FCT is the Administration of Criminal Justice Act of 2015. And anything outside it is not known to us. And we have complied strictly with the provisions.
In other legal matters, the trial of a former Abia State Governor, Ojo Okalo, and 2 others on allegations of fraud to the tune of about 3 billion naira continued today at the Federal High Court in Lagos. The 13th prosecution witness, Ovie Akpoibo, who is an operative of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, narrates how the EFCC unsuccessfully failed to arrest the cashier to the Abia State Government House, Michael Udo. The witness also testified that efforts to serve a court summons on Mr. Udo for him to appear as a witness in the case has also yielded no positive result, noting that the testimony of the cashier is crucial to its case. But counsel to the former governor, Ojo Okalo, faulted the EFCC for the prolonged trial of his client. He told Justice Mohammed Idris that the prolonged trial is taking its toll on the defendants while urging the court to intervene. Counsel to the EFCC, Mr. Rotimi Jacob, however, objected and insisted that there was no proof that the Commission was deliberately delaying the trial. At the end of the session, the trial judge held that it was not the court's duty to tell the EFCC how to conduct its case. He also gave parties the assurance that all issues in the case will be handled in accordance with the provisions of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. Now, the absence of the EFCC's witness stalled proceedings today in the trial of a former governor of Oyo State, Rashidi Ladoja, who is being prosecuted for an alleged fraud of 4.7 billion naira. The EFCC counsel, Mr. Olabisi Oluwafemi, told Justice Mohammed Idris of the Federal High Court, Lagos, that the witness, a director in the Oyo State Government Civil Service, was busy attending an official assignment. The lawyers to the defendant had no objections to the plea for an adjournment, and the court subsequently fixed Tuesday, March the 20th, for continuation of trial. Ladija is being prosecuted alongside a former commissioner for finance in Oyo State on 8 counts, bordering on money laundering and unlawful conversion of funds belonging to the Oyo State government. The defendants have pleaded not guilty to these charges.